So as some of you guys may know, we are still waiting for Set 6 Double Diamond to be released in North America. Ugh. I hate waiting. I hate it. I hate it. I want these cards now. But anyway, so I've had to make a couple decks just to buy out some time. And I swore up and down that I would never play green, especially after dealing with the shenanigans green had in set 4. But this card right here changed my perspective. So let's talk about it. Roll the intro. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boy Zay, the resident Digimon expert here at the Cast channel, and I'm back with deck profiles, baby. Yes, it is. I think Get Decked number 9 or 10, one of those two, something like that. I don't know, but I'm happy to be back, bringing you guys another deck profile. This deck profile is actually a little interesting. And you might have seen in the intro, I vowed up and down that I would never play green. But I saw this deck. It's called, essentially it's called Green Control or Reflegimon Control. And I fell in love with it. And I took it to my locals and got first place with it. So let me show you the deck that I played with. And so let's start with the eggs. the somewhat vital part to this deck. So we play 4, count them, 4, this Yokomon. So the cool thing about Yokomon is that it incorporates the Digiburst style of green, in which when this card is used for the Digiburst ability, then you get to pick one of your Digimon and it gets plus 2000 power for the turn. You can either pick the Digimon that you use the Digiburst skill on, or you can pick a different Digimon if you have on the field, which is actually pretty nuts and it's very clutch. I think whenever I played it, I've only used it on the Digiburst Digimon. I'm pretty sure I used it on Reflegimon, just because you can get that Digimon to a very high power. And the last egg is Budmon. Essentially what this does is while this Digimon has Digiburst, you get 1000 power. So if essentially you want to keep this if you don't have that many sources on the Digimon itself. And also if you have like a bunch of sources that doesn't have any inheritable effects, and you want to keep this just to give your Digimon power, if the Digimon itself has Digiburst, of course, then you would keep this. But yeah, so that's all the eggs we play. Now let's get to the level 3s. So the first level 3 we play is Argomon. Yes, BT2, aka I believe still set 1.0 for North American players or US players. But the cool thing about this Argomon is that it has an inheritable. This Digimon gets 1000 DP, which is similar to the Argomon in, I believe, the I am blanking hard. The starter deck, right? Starter deck Argomon. But it's cool because we have a green version. And essentially it gives our Argomon, or sorry, not our Argomon, but our Digimon 1000 power, which is fantastic. And so yeah, that's why we play this. Now we go to the next level 3. Lalamon. This Digimon is actually dope. This was a set 4 card, which I didn't think that I would personally use, but hey, I'm using it. So what Lalamon does is has an inheritable effect. When this card is trashed due to one of your Digimon using the Digiburst effect, you get to return this Digimon to your hand. Very fantastic. So if we have let's say like a level 4 on top of this, right? And then we happen to have the like Digiburst 2 or something. Then we get to trash both of these. And since we trash this Lalamon, it goes back to our hand. And then with this Yokomon, we can pick that Digimon or a different Digimon to get 2,000 power. Very fantastic. And then the next Digimon that we play is 4, count them, 4 Argomon. Now, Argomon is essentially just a two cost level 3 to play. So you can hard play this and potentially memory choke your opponent. Or you could potentially cheat this out for free, and I'll show you guys in a second. But this card is very, very good. Very good. And now with the rest of the level 3s, they're essentially like the tech level 3s of the deck. So we play 2 Tentomon and 1 Terriermon. So, Tentomon, fantastic card. Why? On play. So when you hard play this for 3, you get to look at the top of your deck, and then if it's a green Digimon, you get to add it to your hand. But if it's anything else besides that, then you have to put them at the bottom of the deck, which 80% of the time you will hit a green Digimon and you get to add it to your hand. There has been times, I'm not gonna lie to you, there has been times where I checked into a Chaosmon or an option card, and I was just like, oh, okay, well, I'm not gonna see that for the rest of the game. But besides that, it's a very good Digimon. Now this Terriermon, essentially on all turns, your opponent can't gain memory except with Tamer effects. So they can't use stuff like Hammer Spark. They can't use any type of Digimon that would give them memory and whatnot. So it's pretty nice. It's pretty good for like the mirror match if they play Vegemon, which I'll show you guys soon. And just anything related to gaining memory that's not Tamer wise. That this card says no, not having it, and I like it. Now let's get to the level 4s. So the first level 4 we play, Kabutarymon. Fantastic card. Fantastic. I'll say it again. Fantastic. Is a blocker. Is a level 4 blocker that only costs 1 to Digivolve. You can turbo into a level 5, and it's fantastic. It's good. It's great. Also, when you attack, you lose 2 memory. That's the only downside of this card. Also, besides low-key the play cost. But other than that, fantastic card to use for Digivolving and to stalling your opponent. Now, the next card that I mentioned earlier, we play 3 Weedmon. Yes, 3 Weedmon. Might have said Vegemon earlier, but I meant to say Weedmon. Definitely meant to say Weedmon. But anywho, this Weedmon is cool because his inheritable effect is when this card is trashed due to the Digiburst effect, you get to gain a memory. So if we pair it up with the Lalamon and the Yokomon, and we have like a level 5 on top of this, we get to trash this, gain a memory, trash Lalamon, add it to hand, trash Yokomon, gain 2,000 power. That's busted. That's busted. Very, very busted. All right. Now our next level 4s, we play 2 Vegemon, which is, you know, the Digimon I mentioned earlier, and 2 Woodmon. So this Vegemon here, essentially, we mainly use it to either hard play, to have like a level 4 out that's not that expensive, and also it's a 6K, which can beat over a lot of blockers. Well, a lot of the new blockers. And there's also a cheap Digivolution card. You only have to pay 1 to Digivolve, so we can turbo into our level 5s quickly. Now this Woodmon is a secondary blocker essentially, and we only play 2. Now there's going to be times where you play against a deck that essentially says like kill a 5,000 powered Digimon or whatnot. So Kabutarymon is probably not the Digimon you want to have out on the field during that time. And so that's why we have Woodmon. So because it's a 6,000 power Digimon, and so we are definitely gonna be overpowering uh a lot of level 4s as well as rookies. That's why this card is great. Now let's get into the level 5s. Now this level 5 is definitely a staple to any green deck. Blossomon. Playing 4. You have to. You absolutely have to. You want to know why? Because it has Digisorption 3, which for those that are already green players, none of them have forgot about Digisorption. But for some of you guys that have forgotten, Digisorption 3 essentially means you can rest one of your other Digimon to reduce the Digivolution cost of this card by 3. And hey, look, Digivolution cost is 3. So that means you can rest one of your Digimon and Digivolve into this dude for free. That's fantastic. Fantastic. And then we also have another level 3 that's very similar, but it's actually a lot better. Argomon, fantastic card. Kind of sad, low-key, that it's only limited to 1, but I can definitely see why it's limited to 1. So, with this Argomon, it also has Digisorption 3, but it has an inheritable skill in which, when attacking, you can play 1 green level 3 from your hand suspended without paying its cost. So, if you have a level 5 on top of this, and you attack, you get to play a Digimon like, oh, I don't know, Argomon for free. You can play this Tentomon for free. Fantastic. Fantastic. And the last level 5s that we have in this deck are Lalamon and Cherrymon. Lalamon is a fantastic card. You wanna know why? Because it has Digiburst 2, which means you get rid of 2 of your own sources to do the following effect, which is suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. So we can use this to suspend one of our opponent's like bigger Digimon so we can attack into it. We could suspend one of our opponent's blockers, swing into it to get rid of it, or just have it suspended so we can get game. Or we can suspend anything we want, really. Also, it has an inheritable effect in which if you have a Tamer in play, you get to suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. And yes, we do play Tamers in this deck, and it is fantastic. There was a play that I did where I had a Tamer out on the board. I Digibursted 2 to suspend one of my opponent's Digimon. I Digivolved on top of it. I Digivolved into a level 6. Swung at the rested Digimon, suspended another Digimon, and then I forgot how, but I killed that other Digimon, and that was a sick play. And yeah, not to forget Cherrymon. Essentially, it's a very cheap level 5 to get into. Since it doesn't have Digisorption, this is a very fantastic card because you want to play 2 to Digivolve. It's also a blocker, which helps you kind of stall your opponent out longer so you can either create a bigger board or get that level 6 that you really need. I mainly put this in this deck because I've seen Green OTK put this in this deck, and I was like, honestly, that's pretty smart. Pretty smart, so I'm gonna do that. And now, ladies and gents, we're getting to the big Digimon, the beefy ones, the fantastic Digimon that make this deck work as well as it works. So, for our first level 6, we play Rafflesionemon. I don't know if it's pronounced Rafflesimon or Rafflesionemon. We're just gonna call it Rafflesionemon for now. So basically, this Digimon it has a lot of things going on with it. So first of all, its main effect is Digiburst 2, which you get rid of 2 of your sources. Then you give all of your Digimon plus 2,000 power, which is honestly fantastic. And you also give itself 2,000 power, which is busted. And then also on your turn, when one of your Digimon uses a Digiburst effect, you get to pick one of your opponent's Digimon and it can't attack or block until the end of their next turn, which is insane. You get to freeze one of your opponent's Digimon when you Digiburst, and you can use it while using its own Digiburst effect. Oh, that's crazy. That is crazy. Also, you might notice it has two Digivolution costs. So, if you Digivolve into a level 3, you have to pay, or sorry, if you Digivolve into a level 5, you have to play 3 memory. And then if you Digivolve on top of level 6, you get to pay 1 memory. So essentially, you can Digivolve it on top of itself, Digivolve on top of itself. If you really feel spicy, use the Digiburst effect to get rid of these two, freeze one of your opponent's Digimon, give everything plus 2,000, and then you're just beefy and you swing. It was actually pretty dope. Now we do play other level 6s in this deck. And some of these, okay, there's one Digimon I might take out. The rest of them I'm keeping in here. So let's just talk about the one I might be cutting. Hercules Kabutarymon. So essentially, I mainly kept this in here just to kind of keep up the theme of Digiburst. So essentially, it has piercing, which means if it swings into a Digimon and it lives, it gets to do a security check, which is fantastic. You essentially remove 2 cards from your opponent's side of the board. That is fantastic. Lose a body and a life. Woo, that's nice. It also has the Digiburst effect, also Digiburst 2. The only thing about this one is that you get to suspend one of your opponent's Digimon, which is the same as Lalamon, but it's a level 6 in a way, and it has piercing. The only downside about this card is that it pays 4 to Digivolve on top of a level 5, which, depending on your opponent's board state or just whatever's going on during that time, you can be giving your opponent a lot of memory to work with. So that's kind of what I'm thinking of, why I'm thinking about cutting this card. I might take this card out and probably put in the promo Grand Kuwagomon, in which you can give one of your Digimon plus 1 security. But I'm probably still gonna have to test that out. Now the other level 6 in this deck, which I am not taking out at all, Nidhoggmon. Yes, Nidhoggmon. Oh my goodness, this card is fantastic. Even though I have a love-hate relationship with this card is fantastic. So, also, can we, before we talk about this more, I'm definitely flexing this alt art right now. This art is dope. I like it a lot. Anyway, back to the profile. So essentially, it has a Digivolve effect in which when you Digivolve, you get to Digiburst 4. Well, you have to Digiburst 4. And then when you do that, you suspend all of your opponent's Digimon that have a power of 5,000 or less, which essentially rests all of like the newer blockers, maybe like a small level 4, and definitely like all of level 3 Digimons. And then after that, you place all of your opponent's suspended Digimon to the bottom of their deck. That is insane. So if they try to build like a big board, but they have a bunch of stuff rested, you can just Digivolve this on top of your full stack, Digiburst 4. You can potentially gain a memory with Vegemon, boost this Nidhoggmon by 2, making it a 15k. And then you can also get that Lalamon back to your hand. Fantastic stuff. And then you could potentially board wipe your opponent. Ugh, that's nice. This card literally has changed the tempo in so many of my games and helped me win. You have no idea. Now, the only thing about this card is that it does pay 5 to Digivolve, but whenever you use this, 8 times out of 10, you're clearing your opponent's board. And by giving them 5 memory, it really doesn't feel that bad. They'll most likely just like either hard play something that has a play cost of something big, or they'll just kind of hide in the raising area and you can still do some other stuff. And now for the last Digimon, we play level 7s in here. We play 2 Chaosmon and 1 Chaosmon Valder Arm. Now, the cool thing about all these cards is you can Digivolve on top of level 6 for 6 memory. That's fantastic. And also, these two have different effects. Well, I guess these have different effects. So let's talk about this Chaosmon. So essentially, this Chaosmon has piercing, which is fantastic. Also, it has a when Digivolving effect in which you unsuspend this Digimon, and then you can attack one of your opponent's unsuspended Digimon or suspended Digimon, which is fantastic. So, if we still have this Nidhoggmon on board, we can swing at an opponent's Digimon or security. Then we can Digivolve on top of this Chaosmon, unsuspend, and then swing at something else. Fantastic. I like it. I like it a lot. And then with this Chaosmon Valder Arm, it's honestly, you don't necessarily need this card in this deck. You can go 3 or maybe 2 of the regular Chaosmon, but this card also is a little spicy. So essentially, when you Digivolve this, you get to activate the effect twice, in which you get to pick one of your opponent's Digimon, and you do minus 7,000 power to it. So essentially, you can pick one Digimon and do minus 14,000 power, or you pick 2 Digimon and minus 7,000 power to each of them, which is dope. And also, if this Digimon dies, you get to gain 3 memory. So if you're at, I don't know, if you happen to be at 6 memory, you Digivolve this on top of a level 6, you go to 0, swing at security, and then it dies and you're back to 3, and then it's still your turn. Which has definitely happened to me. Definitely happened to me. Now let's get to the option cards. So we play 3 Needle Spray and 1 Hidden Potential discovered. Sadly, this card is limited. That's the main reason why there's only 1. But oh man, I wish I could put like 1 more in here. But let's talk about this Needle Spray. This Needle Spray, for 2 memory, you get to suspend one of your opponent's Digimon, which is awesome. And also it has a security effect in which you get to activate the main effect, which is suspend one of your opponent's Digimon, and then you get to add it to hand, which is fantastic. So if they try to like swing at you with 2 Digimon and you have like 1 security, and this happens to be the security check, you flip this up, say, hey, rest your other dude, add this to hand. And then they're just sitting there like, oh, well, I don't have game. I'm just going to Digivolve or possibly pass turn or just play something else. Fantastic. And then what Hidden Potential Discovered does is the next time one of your green Digimon Digivolves into another Digimon, you get to suspend one of your opponent, or not your opponent, but you get to suspend one of your own Digimon to reduce the Digivolution cost by 5. So essentially, it's like Digizorption, but it's Digizorption 5, if that makes sense. Which is actually pretty dope. And now for the last cards is our Tamers. So we play 2 Mimi Tachikawa. Now the cool thing about this Tamer is that it's a memory reset Tamer, in which at the start of your turn, if your opponent tries to memory choke you to like 1 or 2 memory, you get to reset it to 3. And then and then the other effect, it's so broken. It's so broken. So essentially, if you have a level 5 green Digimon on the field, you get to suspend this card, and then you can either hatch an egg, or you can push your level 3 from the breeding area to the battlefield, which is insane. Because if you have 2 of these, so yeah, if you have a level 5 out, and then you have nothing in your raising area, you get to suspend this, hatch an egg, Digivolve into a level 3, maybe a level Digivolve into a level 4 or whatnot. Then you can suspend the other Mimi, push that Digimon out, and potentially swing with it. That is broken. That is broken. it is just it's a fantastic card. And if you're playing green, you have to play that Tamer specifically. Now, this last Tamer, you don't necessarily need it in this deck, but I felt like this was a big reason why I won my locals. And it is Yoshino, not Yokomon. But yes, surprisingly enough, this card is actually pretty nice. So, on play, which means you pay 3 memory, you get to return 1 digi egg from your trash to the bottom of your egg deck, which is fantastic because we are digi bursting a lot in this deck. So now we can continuously have more pieces to potentially draw cards and to have like a beefy Digimon or just like a decent Digimon to do other things with is fantastic. And then also on your turn, when one of your Digimon digivolves into a Digimon that has Digiburst, you get to suspend it to reduce the cost by 1. So this Hercules Kabutarymon turns into a 3 cost. Reflegimon either becomes free or 2 to Digivolve. And if I can find it, Nidhoggmon turns into a 4 cost. That's actually insane. That is actually insane. Well, yes, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for the deck profile. Like I mentioned, I won my locals with it. I went X, 0, and 1. The 1 being a tie. I actually tied with a fantastic D Brigade player. And luckily enough, I think that was my second round. So luckily enough, I took the rest of my games in game 2, and I ended up coming out on top. So if you like the deck profile, or if you didn't like the deck profile, let me know in the comments. I want to hear your opinions. And again, it's been your boy Zay, the resident Digimon expert on the TCG Cast channel. And yeah, that wraps it. You just got decked.